Good day, Africa, and welcome to AAU Talks here on AAU TV. And my name is Kwesi Sam. Today on AAU Talks, we are continuing our discussion on Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. You can join the conversation via our social media platform, AAU on Facebook and AAU_67 on Twitter. We have our panelists, our regular panelists, I might say, who are ready for the 3, 4, 5 aspirations of Agenda 2063. I will go for a quick commercial break. When I come back, I will introduce my panelists.
The facilities at Strathmore University are top class. Believe it or not, one of my favorite places is the library.
We have a lot of audiovisual materials, CDs, DVDs, and then we also have a multimedia lab. Again, the idea being that the resources that we offer, you need a place where you can actually view them. What you might not see, but actually very available, is a very rich collection of electronic resources. We have fantastic wireless connection. So if you have your own laptop, you can actually come in your phone, for example, you can access the internet, access the resources. It's really rich. I mean, ebooks, a lot of journals, articles, peer-reviewed, and even just stuff for personal reading and entertainment.
The incredible resources when conducting research and projects. And just so you feel like a break from the library, you can always hang out in the student center with friends, grab a coffee or soda and have discussions. All of this with wireless internet connectivity 24/7.
A good institution, and especially university, needs to give students their space where they excel, where they are entrepreneurial. For that matter, we have always thought that the idea of building a student center was fundamental. All right, in it we'll have incubators, we'll have the student activities, we'll have the eateries, we'll have the places where they meet and group work, socialize with lecturers, all that sort of stuff, discuss things with people.
Welcome back. We are live on our social media platforms, AAU on Facebook and AAU_67 on Twitter. I have my three regular panel members who have joined me today for the discussion that is going to be basically the final touch on the Agenda 2063 before we move into the full digestion of Agenda 2063. The first to be introduced to you is Mr. Samuel Ajapon, who is a research member and also he is a project officer here at the Association of African Universities. You are welcome, Mr. Ajapon.
Thank you very much. I'm great.
Great.
What about you?
I'm trying to be fine. I tell people every day. Okay. The second panel member to be introduced is Ms. Irene Dufie, who is also a project officer here at the Association of African Universities. And she wants me to add the Adai to the surname, right? So it's Ms. Irene Dufie Adai.
Yeah.
Irene, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm fine also.
All right.
Great. And the last panel member to be introduced is Mr. Kweku Schneider Ankoma, and he is also a project officer here at the Association of African Universities. Mr. Ankoma, how are you?
I'm trying to be fine.
You're trying to be fine, just as I said.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, guys, you are welcome to the third episode of Agenda 2063 discussion. And we've already had the 2 episodes where we looked at the first 3 aspirations of Agenda 2063. And the last episode we had, that was the second one, we were able to establish the fact that if we have good governance, it transcends into peaceful and secure Africa. And so today we are looking at the 4th, and we'll rush through the 5th and the 6th because next week we must go into the full-blown program of Agenda 2063. Let me start with you, Mr. Ajapon. We are looking at a peaceful and secure Africa. How will we ensure that Africa is peaceful and then we have security? Security in Africa is paramount to maybe attract foreign investors or to attract foreigners into our continent.
Well, thank you for the question, Kwesi. Peace is needed when we focus on development. There's no development when there's no peace and when there's no respect for human rights. So one, I would say there's the need for our systems to work, our judicial service and then our law courts to work. There's the need to respect the rule of law. But most importantly, looking at what is happening across the continent, there is the need to create a mechanism whereby people can work or coexist in a diverse environment.
Okay.
Why do I say this? There have been issues where we have had a report of xenophobic attacks in South Africa. We have this Boko Haram, which is based on religion in Nigeria. So these are examples of situations whereby people or African people have not been able to live in diversity. So in order to promote peace, there is a need for me to respect your values. There is a need for me to understand your views and also to coexist within the same space because we live among ourselves. In Ghana, there are a lot of people who have married from the north, from the south, and from the east. There's this coexistence, so there's peace in the country.
So you think marriage is a tool for peaceful coexistence?
Yes, marriage is definitely a tool, and religion is a tool.
Okay.
Yes.
So you go for someone from Tanzania, go for someone from Sudan?
Yes, if the borders are open, like we mentioned in the I think the second agenda, whereby we can move across borders. It's possible for me to coexist with someone who is from Zulu, from someone who is from Ethiopia. You understand?
Okay.
Yes, language shouldn't be a barrier, religion shouldn't be a barrier, education shouldn't be a barrier. You understand?
So basically, we should respect each other.
Yes, we should respect each other. We should be able to work in diversity because working in diversity promotes what? Peace and also leads to what? Development.
All right. I think that is a brilliant one. Ms. Dufie, what do you add up to what he has said?
I think I will take it from the other point of our capacity to ensure peace. I think, first of all, if we can have peace, then we should have the mechanisms and the individuals who are supposed to ensure that there is peace. So I think we should empower our armies, we should empower our local police systems, we should empower our navies. This is done through resources. We need monies to get them the equipment that are needed. We need monies to improve the intelligence of these security services that we need. So to ensure peace, I think it is essential as Africans that we have a proper standing army that could fight our battles for us. First of all, it should come internally before we can even go outside. And internally, I think they should have ways with which we can resolve issues, ways we can mediate conflict. Because when we take Ghana, for instances, we have the Abudus, we have the Andanis, and it's been years when a war was started from chicken tie, and we are still fighting these wars. I think our processes of mediation has not been up to standard for us to have this peaceful coexistence in the north. So first of all, I think we should have the capacity to ensure that all those who are in line to protect us, to give us peace, are well equipped, whether it be education, whether it be systems, whether it be information gathering, anything that is needed. So I think peaceful coexistence and peaceful Africa can be achieved. But we should do more. We should do more in making them capable of giving us what we want.
All right. Mr. Nkrumah, what do you also add up? How can we ensure that as a continent we achieve this vision?
Okay, thank you, Kwesi. In the build-up to this discussion, we've said a lot of things that we need to make our continent, move forward. Today, on the peace and then security, and ensuring that we have secure and peaceful Africa. There are some issues that threatens peace on the continent.
Okay.
First, I'll look at the issue of terrorism on the continent. One issue too that threatens peace on the continent has been border disputes. Then there is the issue of child trafficking, which is also a major threat to security on the continent. There's also the issue of violence against women and then children, and then the formation of these groups, that
Child
radical
military.
groups, child military, and all those things on the continent. These are issues that threatens peace on the continent. Now let's go into the issues one after the other. Let me take the issue of border disputes. It has been long-standing issue that has threatened peace on the continent. Now let's go into some of the standing border disputes on our continent.
Okay.
We have the conflict over the Ilemi Triangle between Sudan and Kenya.
Okay.
It's long-standing. It has not been resolved. We also have the Nadapa border dispute between Kenya and South Sudan.
Yes.
It's standing. We have the dispute over Lake Malawi between Malawi and Tanzania. It's a border dispute. We also have the dispute between the Sudan and the South Sudan, a very popular one. Good. We also have the, if you go to the north, disputes between Morocco and Mauritania, between Algeria and Egypt, Libya. If you go to the south, the popular, dispute over the Orange River between South Africa and then Namibia. And then let me retreat. This has been one of the oldest disputes in the world.
And recently, Ethiopia and then Eritrea.
Eritrea.
Yes.
Good. So
Also.
that is an issue that is long-standing. And then on the Eritrea and then Ethiopia, today on BBC, we had a good news that the newly elected Prime Minister, Mr. Ahmed, has said that they're going to accept and then implement the ruling of the board that came up about the conflict resolution. You know, this border dispute between Ethiopia and Eritrea has caused a loss of lives on the continent. That is in 1998.
And not to cut you short, I think Ghana and then
Cote d'Ivoire.
Cote d'Ivoire.
That has been resolved.
Maritime-
Classical,
Yes,
a
but
good example how
but
it
that
was
has been
resolved.
resolved. Yes.
Maritime
Yes.
disputes that occurs on the continent. So it is an issue that is long-standing.
Sure.
And then it's time that we start resolving these issues. So we were talking about putting in place mechanisms for, peaceful resolution.
Yes.
These mechanisms are available. Looking at the Eritrea-Ethiopia issue, in 2002, this issue, they brought a ruling on it that Ethiopia should exit the territory, the Badme territory, and leave it for Eritrea. But then that was not adhered to. And that led to the killings. Okay?
Ethiopians were not comfortable.
They were not comfortable or satisfied with the ruling. So the mechanisms are already in place. But then we need to make them functional at
Yes.
all levels. So now, looking at what the Prime Minister has done is a good example, that has been set to resolve this issue. And I'm sure that if we are also to make all these resolutions on all of these border disputes functional, then we are going to resolve this issue of border disputes, and then there will be peace in Africa. So, and also there is one issue too that threatens, peace. That I've already mentioned the border disputes, and sometimes you need to trace the root cause of all these issues.
Sure.
Then, if you're talking about border disputes, it's a long-standing thing, coming from the pre-colonial era, whereby they respected borders,
Exactly.
and so they didn't look lightly on borders. And now, because of that, it has led to a myth which we need to dispel if you're going to have peace on the continent.
All right, thank you very much. I think this one will go to any of you. It's always good that we make references to classical good examples.
Yes.
And one of them that we can just make up or just rightly say is the Ghana-Cote d'Ivoire borders. And I think that one was handled professionally. There was justice, and we never heard of any chaos. We never heard of any brutalities. Nothing came out of it. Do you think the processes that they resorted to, the court systems that work, should be the way to settle some of these disputes as a continent?
Well, I'll give a big yes answer to that. Yes, the court system is the best way to settle such issues.
Okay.
And it's also important, like Schneider mentioned, that we should accept the rulings of the court. Yes.
Whether it goes your favor or not.
And come to think of it, we would only accept court rulings when we think it's fair.
Yes.
But when we think it's biased and then it goes against the other party, I don't think it would be accepted. So in everything, there should be fairness. And when there is fairness, transparency, then we get the results, the peace that we need. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think these are beautiful ways that initially we can just look at to ensure that we achieve that peace. But let's move on to the second or the next aspiration. That is the fifth aspiration, which talks about the fact that we need to build a continent that has a strong cultural identity. And then we also have a common heritage, values, and ethics. I am proud as an African, and we must be proud that we are Africans. How will we ensure that we get there as a continent? Let me start with you, Ms. Adai.
All right. So looking at our histories are mostly spoken. They are mostly given to us orally.
Exactly.
And then when we go back, some of us can't even trace our backgrounds because there are no written documents to protect our histories. If we go to museums, orators are dying. And then, so we don't know how our foundation is. And for every country to develop, essentially, you should know your background. You should know where you started from. And so it is very important as a nation or as a continent to know our histories. And knowing your histories would help you to make future decisions. And that is very important. Look at our folklores in Ghana here. We have the Anansi stories. These are stories that depict society, that talks about decency in societies, that talks about the evils in societies. But now we can't even find them in our societies anymore because there is no one to sit around the fireplace to talk about them. Globalization has put everybody on his phone, his or her phone. We don't have time to sit down to listen to our culture. We don't have time to listen to our traditions. We know the Ashantis were having the funeral, and people didn't accept it as it was, that they were just bluffing or showcasing what they have. But this is our culture. This is something that we should accept, that it is part of us. And whatever it is that we are doing, we should all follow. We should be keen on it. Look at our linguistics. I don't know how many homes where children are allowed to even speak Chi.
Their local language.
Yes, their local languages. Everybody is teaching their children English, and then we are losing everything. We can't even make stories about Kwekwe Nancy, but we are watching Spider-Man. What's the difference?
But you see, let me still come back to you.
Yeah.
Talking about the language barriers and then we not projecting our language as a continent.
Yeah.
We've come to accept 4 major languages as a continent. If it is not Portuguese, English, French, and
Islam,
and then Arabic.
Sorry.
These are the major languages. And then Swahili. I'm
Yeah.
not going into the international languages, but I just want to make reference to the known ones.
Yes.
How will we ensure that, let's take Ghana, for example, how can I just teach my child, okay, or encourage my child to be on top with the 3 language? You can't even cross Cote d'Ivoire. You can't go to Cote d'Ivoire, you can't go to Togo and then speak that language and you'll be accepted.
I think, first of all, you are belittling our language.
No, I am not.
It's
I'm just
not,
pushing
it's
something.
not we crossing to other countries. That is why we have our education systems to teach us. And it is essential that what we have, what we believe makes us, should be kept, should be preserved, shouldn't be thrown away because of other countries or other borders. We should stick with our values. So, and as much as it's important to learn English, to learn French, to learn Portuguese, we are who we are because of our language, because of our culture. And so it should be maintained. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Let me go to Mr. Akuma.
On the culture, preserving our culture, values, and all those things, it's very necessary. And then one thing I want to zoom into is the fact that, you know, we as Africans, we have a very rich culture, and then, but one thing we are missing is the fact that we are sticking to the old and primitive ways of showing our culture to the world. And so by so doing, the culture becomes extinct. So maybe one way that we can portray our culture is being innovative about it. Look at Black Panther. It was a movie that was written something in relation to the culture of Africa. And look at how people received the whole movie. Africans were proud of it, were we not? We were proud of Black Panther because we saw that it was portraying the culture of Africa in an advanced way. That way, it's easier to sell it to people. It's easier to attract people to come and say, okay, so these people have this very rich culture. Then it's time I pay a visit and then see how things are done. And so we have a rich culture, that is true, but then how we portray it is something we need to work on.
Okay, Mr. Japan, how do we build our creative industry to preserve our cultural values, to preserve our ethics, to preserve our customs heritage? Because now when you go on social media, when you go on television stations across the continent, we are all watching foreign content. And it's very worrying. How do we build our own systems, we build our creative industries to the level where we can compete with the international movies and writers and whatever we have?
Well, before you become creative, what are you being creative in? And in this situation, we are saying you have to be creative in your own cultural background, right? There's a need to instill Pan-Africanism across the continent. And how can we do that? We can do this through education. If our children go through a system whereby they use their local language, or even if they don't use their local language in school, they should learn their local language in school. So in school, you'll be made to learn Twi, Ga, Hausa, Nzema, Swahili. You understand? In that way, you'll be able to what? Preserve your culture. You should be able to know how to dance in at least 3 dances across Africa. Now, these people, okay, let me just say the Westerners have taken our culture, our market, and they've modernized it, and they're selling it back to us. Recently, Childish Gambino made a song. He says, "This is America." We watch the video, we watch the clip, and we say, "No, this is Africa," because everything not the idea that he's putting out, but the dance that he did in there was from South Africa. Some was from Nigeria, and some was from Ghana. So he put all these 3 dances together and then made a clip out of it. He's made money, he's modernized, and he's sent across a message. But this is African, this is us, this is for us, and we are supposed to be able to do this with ease. You understand? So to do this, we need to entrench Pan-Africanism in our educational system and also celebrate our art and culture. There are a lot of art in Africa. There are a lot of artists in Africa who are making good music, who are making good movies and films. But what happens? We shelve them. We don't project them. We want to listen to Western music. We want to listen to Justin Bieber, but we don't want to listen to Sarkodie. You understand? Or Kechi Kwame. You understand? Or yes, or Fela Kuti. You see how people appreciate such legends in music, but we don't appreciate our own people.
Very true.
Can I come in with what you're saying? Because why has our taste changed for Western culture? Because it's quality, it's appealing.
It's appealing, it's quality.
To us.
Yes.
And we don't have that. We don't have the quality. We are still doing the old things. We are not being creative, as you said.
Yes.
So we would go for things that we feel is appealing to us, that is of quality. And then when I'm spending on it, I know, okay, I'm getting satisfied with what I have.
Is there a problem of we not being creative, or we don't have the resources to come up with
I think it's
things?
everything. We don't invest our resources in that. We think this is entertainment, so there is no need. Even we fight on why are we even having holidays? It's holidays we can use for such things, but people don't see the essence of holidays. They feel you working, that is when the country is going on. But we have holidays where we can go to the theater to watch plays, dramas.
Do people even go to the theater?
Exactly. So it is how it's our taste. we've developed over the years, because they were not even doing theater art. Mostly it's now that it's been revamped by this man, Roverman Productions. That's when we feel we are happy that we can go to the theaters.
But my issue even has to do with our culture is being diluted, because recently the Kukwanansi that I know, a story has been written about Kukwanansi and says it's a god in Africa. No.
Exactly. So that was the point that I first made, that we don't have we have not written it down. We don't have a written culture of maybe the Ashantis, of this, of that. And so someone will come and write it for us. That is the problem. So if you don't have it down, someone will do it for you.
Some of these stories are written down.
They are,
yes.
But how come they are putting out the fake ones out?
All right, let me go for a short commercial
It's just
break.
we need to project ourselves.
It's getting
it's
interesting in the studio. We are still looking at Agenda 2063, the role of the young people to achieve the Africa that we want. After the commercial break, we'll move on to the next aspiration. And I know that it's also going to be a debate, and you will enjoy it. This is AAU Talks on AATV. Stay tuned.
Anyone can get an education, but not everyone gets quality education. It's never too late to acquire it. The University of Lusaka, a modern private university located off Ali Kinkata Road in Lusaka, Zambia, offers undergraduate, master's, and PhD degree programs in the School of Business and Management, Law, Economics, Banking and Financial Services, Public Administration, Governance and International Relations, Education, Engineering and the Built Environment, and Health Sciences. Our curriculum is practical and designed to meet the changing needs of employers, business, and society. Because at Unilas, we make students think outside the book. Our driving force is a passion for quality education. We build graduates fit for purpose. Enroll now for January or June intakes. For more information, log on to www.unilas.ac.zm.
Welcome back from the commercial break. This is still AAU Talks on AAU TV, and we're still looking at Agenda 2063 and how young people can ensure its implementation. Let me go to Mr. Nkrumah. Let me leave the two of you so that we leave that debate for now. How can we ensure that our government really pay attention to the creative industry? Because I believe that is the only way that would propel people to be creative. Until recently, we are having a lot of young artists coming up. It is because they've seen that there are some means of investment and what have you. How can we get the government of Africa supporting the creative industry to preserve our culture, to preserve our values and everything? I think that will be the last on.
Sometimes we always want to make everything government. So is it the issue of the government rather making it attractive, or the private individuals can make it attractive? So let me say that what the government can do is to create a conducive environment for investors to come in and then invest in our creative industry. And then what the private individuals can do is to also create own content and then do not sell it out to these investors. So what the government can basically do is to create a conducive environment for the investors to come. And then once they come, the private individuals, they know that this is what we want, and then they come and then they come to help. That is what we do.
Let me put you guys on the spot. Where do you come from?
I've come Kwewu in the Eastern region.
Have you visited your hometown during the festival season? If I tell you to share with us just a short history of your
I'll say a big yes.
You will be able to?
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to put you on the spot. Let me go to
I'll say a big yes.
Where are you from?
Kinkers.
Okay, so do you have any idea of any history of your people, your festival and everything?
Of course, we are all under we are all under the offense. How do you even call it?
Exactly, you are.
Offense chieftaincy.
Okay.
And so mostly the major things are done in offense, and people go there.
All right.
From my account. Yeah.
I come from Techiman. We have the Apo. During the Apo.
It's okay. Now, exactly. Do you know why I'm asking this? I was embarrassed, when I went to Egypt, and a young man there actually was talking to me about the fact that he loves Ghanaian music, and then he's head of Azonto dance. I should teach him Azonto dance. And then this young man, who is an Egyptian, he was dancing, and I was just observing. He's like, can't you dance Azonto?
Yeah.
This is from Ghana. And I felt embarrassed that someone who is not in Ghana could really know. He knows the Sarkodie music and everything.
Yeah.
But we are here, we don't just kind of pay attention to these things. And they may even know our history. It will surprise you. You go to the States, you go to the libraries, and the histories and everything of Ghana is documented in books. But come to our continent, go to your hometown, you may not have the Ashanti Kingdom, whatever, written in books. And even when they bring it back for you to buy, I don't think you will. And these are some of the issues that we need to pay attention to if we really want to build a strong cultural identity and a common heritage as Africans. But I like the next aspiration, which talks about the fact that we should have an Africa whose development is people-driven or people-centered, relying on its potential, or relying on the potential of the African people, especially its women, youth, and children. And I want us to take it a step by step because it highlights key people there, women, youth, and children.
Yes.
What must we do for the African youth? And I won't ask you, Ms. Yufe, because you're a woman. Let me go to
To my
yes.
Okay.
What must we do to ensure that the African woman is really empowered? The African woman believes in herself that she can compete with the men, not on any set time or any opportunity. A woman can do exactly what is expected of her and still be a woman.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. The major thing we need to do as Africa, or as a continent, is to, eliminate all sort of inequality that exists against women and children.
Okay.
Yes. Most especially with the issue of FGM, female genital mutilation. Yes, it's widespread across our continent, and after all this campaign and advocacy against it, it's still in existence. And also, if we are able to remove the issue of child marriage or early marriage, this is a major issue in Africa, which is making women less privileged to own assets or to even be empowered to come to the decision table. Because a woman who marries early defers what education, and it affects its her entire life in terms of economic activity or being active in the sense of in the political space and economic space.
Right.
So yes.
Let me come to you, Mr. I know you have a book to tell us issues concerning women empowerment.
Yes. First of all, I think all sorts of discrimination, as he earlier pointed out, and then there should be a place where when we come, we feel there is some sort of equality, including access to everything, where it shouldn't, our continent shouldn't be male-centered. It should be equally centered, where where males have equal right, equal standard to go through issues. I'm not in place of women having easy pass or easy access. I think we can all work hard, have the same standards, have the same grounds, and we can perform. I think especially women in rural areas should be given access to land, should be given accessible loans. You know, these are some of the basic things that women need to be able to be at par when it comes to agriculture. You know, there is a system in the part of the Volta region going through Togo to Benin yesterday when we were talking about the Trokoshi system, where when a family member commits a sin, a girl is taken to a shrine to pay for the sins, to atone for the sins of a member of a family, on behalf of a member of a family. And then the woman spends the entire life at the shrine.
And then even the widowhood right and
all these systems that should be outdated. It should be abolished from our societies. These are things which, when are put in place, would give women, would empower women. You know, there are so many programs that come up for women empowerment, especially in the north, the share butter and everything. I think these are things that should be encouraged more, so that women can feel that they are also at par with men.
Okay. If I don't give you the chance
Is
to,
it at
talk
par? Is
Yes,
it
at par.
equity
about,
or
let's,
or equality?
No,
no, guys, listen.
Which is
if I
it?
don't give Schneider the opportunity to
par.
talk about this,
At par. No. Let's find a
No,
distance.
I don't want us to go to, but you see, even gender parity is one of the things that we need to look at. But if we want to go to gender parity, I think we will not finish the show today. We'll have another debate for that. Let me listen to you.
So, Kwesi, let me look at it in a chronological way.
Oh my God.
You see, we said that the agenda, the aspiration states that unleashing the potential of women, children, and the youth. So, that alone tells you that women have the potential, children have the potential, and then the youth have the potential.
Where are the men?
They are part of the
We will talk about the men. We'll talk
Is
about
the
men.
aspiration discriminatory?
It's not discriminatory, because long we have,
Had
relegated
men in
this group to the background. They have been considered as a minority group, okay? And so this is the time that we've realized that if we are going to develop as a continent, then let's unleash the potential of women and youth. Now, the children, how do we unleash their potential? Children, you need to protect them from violence in the houses. You need to protect them from child trafficking. You need to protect children from child labor.
Yes.
You need to protect the children from this form of child marriages. Give them the opportunity sexual abuse, everything. Just give them the opportunity to grow up, and then recognize that this is Africa, where they've given me the opportunity to become whoever I am. Now the youth. Empower the youth through education to take on the continental development.
Okay.
So education, educate the youth. Now women, they were talking about 50-50 representation. I say you should make it 60-40.
No.
60 for women, 40 for men.
Yeah.
Men
why?
over time have ruled Africa, and now we are here.
So
And now we're saying that
let's
50
turn the-
you are
tables and let
you are
the women
discriminating.
represent. I'm not discriminating. I'm not discriminating. So we should strive for that. Give women 60%
The
representation.
chance that we gave the men.
If you do that, you are
he's
creating
just
the
saying
platform
the
for.
chance that they gave the men. To
Let's now
do,
give it to the women.
Let's give
No,
it to
no,
the women.
nobody
and
gave
see
men
if-
But no,
chance.
we are saying that make the
Make it
platform equal.
Equal,
Let
Yes,
us all
but if you do
compete.
that,
No,
then
I
you are
said,
not
let's
making the
strive for
platform
that.
equal.
60-40. Let's strive for
Gender
that.
parity, 50-50.
Okay? Let's try for that.
50-50.
And then,
She is fighting for 50-50.
and I'm fighting for 60-40.
Okay, all right. I think this one we need a lawyer or a judge to determine whether 60-40 or 50-50 is okay. But one of the areas that I'm so much passionate about has to do with education, and education in the sense that every child must have access to education. And I must commend the government of Ghana, without me not being
Government
political,
of
the
Botswana.
government of Botswana and some
Kenya.
other
Kenya,
as
yes.
well, and even in Rwanda as well, these countries have made strides in ensuring that education is accessible, affordable, and for all.
Yeah.
What is your take on we kind of putting a lot of resources in education?
My take.
Yes.
I'll always say yes. Let's put a lot of resources in education. For us to develop, there are three things. Like, you need to give them their people education. You need to give us good health, and you need to make the economy conducive for investment. Yes. So my take on education is always up there. You will need to invest heavily in education, or at all levels of education, especially the basic education. We need to focus on the basic, and then also the up to the secondary in Africa. Yes.
All right. Now let me get to you, Ms. Adai. How will we ensure that our children are creative, our children are allowed to grow, our children they have access to all the resources, the internet and everything, to compete globally with their friends outside the continent?
I think we limit ourselves to the white-collar jobs when we are in Africa. We want to be a lawyer, we want to be a doctor. That is basically what every parent wants his child to be: lawyer, doctor, judge, everything. But there are certain aspects that, as a continent, that we see ourselves as growing, we should invest in those parts.
Okay.
We should invest in our children painting, going to cultural dance schools. We should invest in our children swimming, athletics and everything. I think these are essential. But we are book-minded. We talk about children, study your book, study your book. And when even we find out that our kids are creative, they can draw. They will tell you are going to do visual art. What are you going to do with this program? They discourage you. You find out your child can cook. He said, what are you going to do with vocational studies? But there are chefs who are billionaires in this country. When you are Ashanti and you are going to play football, your mother will come and pull you, will beat you that you are not pounding fufu for your father. But look at the Cristiano Ronaldos, look at the Messis. They are people. Ronaldo, for instance, his teacher said he would never, ever be well. But he's one of the highest paid athletes in the world. So we should invest in other curriculums as other than the book.
Bookish, yeah.
Yes.
Should I give you the chance, Mr. Nkrumah?
Pass, I'll pass.
All right, thank you very much. We'll go for our last commercial break, and when we return, we'll look at the last agenda, the last aspiration, and then we'll close the show. Stay tuned. This is AU Talks.
You may not have heard about us, but we have heard about you. You've been searching for a new kind of university that matches your ambition. Our world-class education is renowned, but there is more to us. Meet the university in Ghana that is transforming Africa. One that is nurturing a new generation of ethical, entrepreneurial leaders. One that offers scholarships thanks to the Massacre Foundation, so that you can be part of our community of students who stand for integrity, discipline, and excellence. There is only one such university, only one, where 100% of graduates receive job offers or graduate school admissions. You may not have heard about us, but we have heard about you. You are Africa's future, and we are Ashesi University College. Together, we can begin to create a new Africa.
All right, welcome back from the commercial break. You can still send us your comments, your views, and then your messages on our social media platforms, AAU on Facebook and AAU_67 on Twitter. I still have my guests in the studio, and they are doing marvelously well. And I think I'm loving the discussion already. Let me go straight to you, Mr. Nkrumah, with the last aspiration that we have. That is Africa as a strong and influential global player and partner. Just as Patrice put it, Africa is on a dinner table, and we have all the other continents coming in, and we are so helpless. What do you make of it as a person?
Okay, yes, as a person, I feel this is not right to begin with.
I know where your mind was.
as a person or as a country.
So as a person, I don't want to be served on a dinner table where people, cutting pieces of me and then enjoying themselves, and then I will just be there and then looking at them, and then they'll be feeding on me. No, but then you see, looking at Africa, the combined force of Africa is a force that the other world will find difficult to contend or come against. Just that we are divided, and then we do not believe in ourselves. So because we are not divided, we are not, we are not united. So you look at a pizza, they make, sections across
triangles.
them, so triangles. So you go and then you pick one, and then you take. So that makes us fit on the dinner table, and then they come, then they will be picking pieces of us. But then if you are around, we are together. You cannot just come and then you pick a piece and then you go. You have to, be strategic. Where am I going to even cut to begin with? That is what Africa should become. Okay. We need to come together, believe in ourselves, dictate our own terms. So if we're going to the negotiation table, we should go with our terms, stand by our terms, Not that we go there and then they say that, look, we are going to, we will be entering into bilateral trade and then we're going to give you, say, this percentage and then no, they shouldn't dictate that. We should dictate it. We need this percentage. You are taking this percentage. And we should be able to stand by it and then they accept it as the norm and not the other way around. But then we can never do this if we are divided as we are now as a continent. We need to come together and then form a global force that the foreign world will find it difficult to defeat.
Okay. So that means we need to kind of build alliances as a continent.
As a continent.
If you are in the trading sector.
Trade even among ourselves. Even the trade, interregional trade alone. If we are to trade among ourselves, we have a huge market. Even if you are trading among ourselves, we have a huge market that we can take advantage of, even if we are not trading with the other world. But then we are not doing all this because we are
rice from US.
You
go
can
to
Benin and then import rice from Benin. But all those things we need to start them. You know, the rice from Benin needs to be up to standard to begin with, and all those things. So there are a whole lot of issues we need to settle before we come together.
We need to rather change our taste preference.
So you see,
let me go to you, Ms. Tufi.
I want to paraphrase what Dr. Nkrumah said on our independence. He said our independence is meaningless unless the other African countries, their liberation, and then we are together. It's very important because we know the essence of when we are together, the things we could do. And on that premises, that is where we have the Africa Union. And let me say, from on my own perspective, I think the African Union is a toothless bulldog who can't even steer the affairs of Africa. How long does it take African Union to come into the affairs of other countries, to help them in times of crisis? We saw what happened in Sierra Leone. We saw what happened even with the Ebola outbreak. We were waiting on outside
help.
Influencers, help, to give us money to help our people in Africa. Don't we have enough resources? And if I'm wrong, and I can be fact-checked, Africa has most of the resources in the world. Yeah. We can go to Central Africa Republic, and we have every resource in that country. What are we doing with that? We are not developing as individuals. So I think it's necessary that we come together and then we fight our battle as a united front. We come together where we coexist peacefully. We come together where our borders are open. We are open for economic transformations because people have ideas in their countries which they are not willing to share with other countries in Africa. Therefore, it is necessary that we come together. When we come together as a front, that is what he said. We go to the table and we make demands. We don't wait for them to dictate for us. We can make our demands because we know our strength, we know our force that we have. We can't always wait for them to do it for us. We can mobilize our own resources because it is something God has given us. It comes naturally to us. And so therefore, there is the need that if it is Africa Union, we do it well. We can't wait for the UN to make SDGs before we make Agenda 2063. We should start our own. We should drive our own agendas. There are so much funds for Agenda SDGs. But where is the funds for Agenda 2063? How do we push this advocacy? How many people are in the know? So these are some of the things that I think are necessary and we should do.
Kwesi, quick one before you go to Sami.
Okay.
I'll beg to differ on something that Dufie mentioned, that the AU is a toothless bulldog. Okay. I beg to differ. The AU is doing a lot of things on the continent to promote all these aspirations.
Which I agree with you.
Yes, there have been a lot of programs that have been developed. Even the bringing out the Agenda 2063 document alone spells out what we need as Africans. So it's just like it's like your dad. Let me land. It's like your dad has put food on the table. Your dad has worked so hard to put food on the table, okay? And you sitting down, you hungry, you know you're hungry. Your dad has put food on the table. And then you say you wouldn't eat. Can you blame your dad?
Then I come and steal the food.
Wait, AU as Africa Union.
Yes.
But AU couldn't build their building. China built it for them.
And it was bad.
That is AU.
No, wait.
No, let me see. That is.
Hold on.
No, wait. Let me finish. Let me also land.
There were
interference
negotiations
from China, first of all, for building AU is so huge on the continent, and then you can decide to let it slide, but you can't let it slide when a whole union was built by the Chinese.
And they were bagged.
Go on.
All right. You see, I want us to stay very much kind of composed with these ones, because there are some of the things we need a lot of fact and figures.
There are facts.
Yes, there are. But there are some of the things we need to get our facts and figures well and stay still politically correct, especially on the show.
We are correct.
Yes. Let me take your views on this subject. Dufie is trying to make the place a bit tense, but we refuse to. Yes, Sami. Let me take your.
Wow. This is a big issue. Partnership.
The last one is actually the biggest of them all.
The biggest of them all,
Yeah.
irrespective of how we look at it. Partnership. What does it mean to have a partnership? And what do you gain from building partnership? So Africa needs to be bold and stand firm when it comes to the table, negotiation table, with not only Africa, but with the world.
Yes.
Snyder gave an example. He says, you've put yourself on the dinner table and you are being sliced off. How do we take ourselves off the dinner table? Or how do we stand firm in order not to be not for our resources to be taken away? Since Nkrumah's time, where he wanted to build a power plant on the river of Congo, till now, it hasn't been done. Africa has not been able to generate the power that we need.
Okay.
And always we go on the negotiation table and then sign contracts whereby we are the losing side. This is maybe, some people put it because of corruption and all that. But then there is a need for us to be able to fund our own development.
Okay.
That is very important.
Right.
Cote d'Ivoire, Congo, Burkina Faso has received a lot of aid, but yet they are still where they are. Why is
Likewise, all other African
Yes,
countries.
and in economics terms, they say it's because of moral hazard. Why do I say that? If I get the aid, I spend it anyhow I want because I didn't work for it.
And I become a slave to the person.
I
who
become
is
a slave
giving me.
to the person who is giving me. And then the people, if I'm giving you something, that means I have to put my terms in there. Okay, I'm giving you this huge amount of money. I need your gold. I need your aluminium. I need your bauxite. I need to do trade with you, irrespective. Ghana has signed a lot of trade agreements, but we can't send our goods across because we don't even pass the test.
The test, yes.
Is this agreement good? Is it a win for us?
No.
Or a win for you? We are not saying we should sign a win-lose agreement, but then we want to be able to...
A win-win situation.
Yes, we want to be able to sign an agreement whereby it's a win-win agreement. I'm happy we have the Agenda 2063.
Sure.
And if we are able to go through all the 6 agenda, the 7.
The 7 aspirations.
All the 7 aspirations. I'm saying if we're able to go through all the 6, the 7 is achievable or will come by itself. So it's important for us to study, understand, and implement all the agenda. And then the 7, we will be bold and be part of the G7. And then we'll be saying G8, including Africa.
Sure.
We'll be part of the decision making
exactly.
for the world and not for Africa alone.
Okay. I think looking at the entire aspirations, the 7 of them, and we are going into this segment because it's the last stream we are having before we go into the full discussion. I believe that if we're able to achieve the first aspiration, definitely it translates to the second, the third, the fourth,
yes.
the fifth, and then the 7 also comes naturally. I mean, if you have good leadership who have great competencies, they have good negotiation skills, they are not corrupt, they are knowledgeable. When you put them on the negotiation table, you wouldn't put a brown envelope where he would just sell the image and then entire sovereignty of a country because of his personal gains. And I think these are some of the things that we need to do.
Sure.
And thank you so much for your brilliant ideas. I will give you the opportunity to say your final words because this is just the last episode. Let me start with you. I think if you'll be the last, so that she doesn't lead us into another full discussion.
Okay.
Thank you, Kwesi. Kwesi, here is what we need to do. We have a full agenda, then we have 7 aspirations. What we need to do as a continent is to start developing, policies and then implementation policies out of each of the agendas. And then once we get all those ones, and we know that we're doing this, targeting this particular aspiration, we'll be able to track it from time to time. Then we know how much we are achieving the aspirations. But then, as it stands, we do not have any clear path of what implementation of this Agenda 2063. Not even to begin with tracking to know how far we've come as a continent. So it's something we need to do as a continent.
Okay, Ms. Duffy.
I thought I would be the next, and Duffy will complete it for us. Okay, let her go. Go for it. Go for it.
I think Duffy wants to be the last, so you can go.
Okay, can I speak to you?
For the sake of
we just talked about our culture.
Yes, you can.
For our audience, okay. Yes. I would say the time that we wait on results.
You can just speak your tree, but after that you need to paraphrase or just kind of.
Okay, let me speak my tree. I love my culture. Emrena yeshempe ni formo moye niema no. Etwem kakra. Yes. So in translation, I would say the time that we wait for results from the top to down approach. It's no longer. We shouldn't be looking at that now. It's about time we put the problem in the middle. Whatever problem it is, corruption, education, we put it, we center, and then we come around it and say, what can we do as people? What can you do as Kwesi? What can I do as Sam? I'm happy we have this panel here discussing this issue. Let's put the problem in front of us, and then let's see what we can do as individuals to solve this. What we can do as technocrats to solve this, and call upon those who have the resources, those who have the technical know-how to solve our issues. I think that's what I'll end with.
Thank you very much. Ms. Duffy, you have the platform.
I think Agenda 2063, it's a good document. And I think everything on it is achievable. I think that there should be more advocacy, there should be more sensitization, and I think there should be more funds to put it out, not from outside, but from our own generated funds. And I think it's not difficult. We can do that. I think it's a policy, by far, reading it, I think it's a good policy. I think if I wouldn't say good, it's even a best policy I've seen for Africa. And I think it's from it that we go to the CESA.
Yes.
So I think the agenda is for us to implement, is for us to hold tight, and it's for us to do justice to it. So,
all right. Thank you very much, gentlemen and lady. We pledge to make Africa the best continent. We pledge to make Africa
the Africa we want.
Africa we want. And I know in some few years I would come and meet you in higher positions, and I'll refer you to some of these things that we've done. So the entire continent is looking up to you. Make sure that you do nothing but the best. Make sure that wherever you find yourself, you are able to inspire other younger people to kind of be who you are, or even be better than you are. We appreciate your time that you spent with us throughout the 3 episodes. And we know that we are going to meet you on the broader table where we will take the issues one after the other.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and we are so grateful.
You're welcome.
Great. So our viewers, this has been AAU Talks on AAU TV. We have been discussing Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, the document that is spearheading our development as African continent. Are you a young person out there? This is yours, because we are going to ensure that by 2063, we experience the Africa that we want. Stay tuned. Next week, we are bringing you a fantastic episode on Agenda 2063. We are calling on everyone to send in comment, views. So you can sponsor this show, support us, and let us have a beautiful continent. Thank you so much, and this has been AAU TV. My name is Kwesi Sam.